So welcome to the hardy and intrepid souls that want to look under the hood of my template. Here we're going to actually look into what's called inheritance, which is to say there are certain styles that inherit qualities from preceding styles. And this helps create a skeleton, a framework by which where you change one style and it will cascade into the other styles. Now you want to do that consciously. You don't want that to happen as a unexpected consequence. So this is the value of the instruction here. So moving on, we go to my desktop. And here we find my book template again. And again, everything on the right here is going to be what we're going to talk about. And what I'm going to start, okay, pages. Well, we'll start with character styles. And we'll start with SR base font. Now, this requires that I right-click that selected font, select Modify, and now I have the complete, all the characteristics that are available for me to play with. Principally, what font am I using as my SR base font? I'm using Arial Regular 12-point. Down here in features, nothing there. Could you play with the kerning, I suppose, but I'm not going to do that. That's a much more advanced topic for presentation, but most books are use the fonts already kerned style. Kerning means how close two letters will approach each other or spread apart. So, font effects. Font color, automatic. That's typically going to be black when you're that's your system color. The system background would be white. Nothing to be done with transparency or any of these other things. And when you look down here in this area at the bottom, it gives you an example of what it looks like. Position, normal, 0 degrees. Okay, these pair kerning, this is where your character spacing is adjusted. Highlighting, none. Borders, 0. So these are all available to you as part of your character styles. Much of it is way beyond the necessity of a novelist, or possibly useful to a nonfiction writer. However, we're going back to the organizer, and here we again SR base font. And notice right here, inherit from. As this is the base font, it is the root, it is at the bottom, it is at the base of all font styles that come with the SR tag at the front. And of course, it's in the category of custom styles. So that's as much as we could say about base font, and it's what would be a vanilla, plain, ordinary style. Now, back here on the right again, all of the fonts, or all of the namings of the font styles exhibit the style that is applied to that font. So you'll notice that they're all in the same size, so they're all Arial. They're all Arial 12-point. But here we see SR bold italic base font. Let's see what that. Right-click, modify. Here we see SR italic or SR bold italic base font inherits its characteristics from SR italic base font. So the difference between the two, what the previous, or let's say the higher in hierarchy font is italic base font. So I have sort of a naming convention here of the cascading applied styles to name the font. So we start with a base font, we italicize it, and we bold it. And again, it goes in custom styles. Now, we're going to see the naming convention, Arial, bold italic. This is still 12 point. It inherited 12 point. It did not inherit bold italic, but it did inherit Arial. So when I created a new style, a new character style and I called it SR bold italic base font, I inherited from italic base font, SR italic base font, and merely changed to bold, and then saved it under this new name that is representative of the style that I just created. So font effects, again, these are all inheritance. Nothing changed. Nothing changed. The only thing that changed was from regular to bold italic. Oh, or actually from italic to bold italic. This is a 3-step change because we inherited twice. If we go to SR italic base font, which is found here, right-click on it, click on Modify, we'll see Arial italic 12 point. In the organizer, we'll see that it's inherited from SR base font, still in the custom styles category. So base font here to italic base font here. Right click, modify. Italic base font is where we're starting from, and we're creating this bold italic base font. So I've gone down, well, let's see, that's in the hierarchy. I've started at the bottom, went up to the top, and then back down. Now we can expect the same thing from the paragraph styles. We have a paragraph default, but we also have a paragraph base. Right-click on paragraph base, modify, and I find in the organizer that the next style is SR paragraph base. In other words, in this next style, whenever I finish a paragraph, and that's denoted by the carriage return or the enter key being struck, that calls for a new paragraph. This paragraph will be followed by this paragraph, and you can see I can replace any of my other paragraph styles to be automatically inserted when I finished with paragraph base. However, whenever I write in a SR paragraph base, I want to continue in a paragraph base. There's no inheritance because this is the base. This is the bottom or the top, however you care to look at hierarchies. This is the most basic. It inherits from none others, and it goes in custom styles. And you see that we're going to have a whole lot of other things going on here that are all within this named style. Now, when you name this style, this will be taken by any conversion product, and it will look up all these particular characteristics, and it will assert them in what it produces. That is, to the best of its ability. In ebooks, a lot of this just falls away. But you want to be intentional when you're doing your layout of your book. So again, in the organizer, this is SR paragraph base. I'm going to skip all these tabs up here. The base is very, very ordinary layout, And it doesn't use tabs. It doesn't do. There's no drop caps. There's no area or transparency or borders implied. Whatever. This is plain, ordinary, vanilla layout. So I'm going to cancel out of that. So, but what paragraph do I use the most? That's SR paragraph default. And when we right-click that and click Modify, we find that it is here named SR paragraph default. The next style that follows from this, like our base paragraph, is another SR paragraph default. So every time you write a paragraph, hit the Enter key, the return key, it's going directly into a paragraph default. Exactly what you, in the same format you used before, you're going to use forever after. If you just keep hitting enters, it will produce these default paragraphs forever. Now, where does SR paragraph default inherit from? Here, SR paragraph base. It could inherit from any of this, but that's we're building up. We're not building away. Again, custom styles. Now, what made SR paragraph default different from paragraph base? Well, actually nothing. It just needed a name convention so that I could distinguish between, if I wanted something distinctive about paragraph defaults that was separable from what's the next paragraph that I'm going to show you, this is the place to do it. So this denotes that all of these considerations in these tabs above are specific to this name alone. So indents and spacings, there's no indent before the text, there's no outdent after the text. Well, I guess that's still indent. First spacing, oh, well, this is probably the only difference between base and default is this 0.2 of an inch indent, which is shown over here on the right in the little workspace that reveals how your settings change the alignment between lines and such. Also, spacing below a paragraph, I add 0.06 inches, and that's the space here between this line and this line. It's not, if I change this radically, it should show up over here, but I don't see that. Okay. Nevertheless, I don't like that. Go there, go there. Nope, still doesn't show up. That surprises me. Let's see if I add anything here. Okay. We can see that this grew, this white space grew in relation to this. Now, if I was to hit apply or OK, those changes would go into SR paragraph default, and everything in my document would follow this new wider space here, and probably more space between these two lines. So line spacing proportional. This adds a little space between the lines here, 10% more, and this is for reader ease. Some standards would go up to 120%. So this is strictly up to you. Alignment, justified means boom, boom, both sides. However, I've come to okay, that's good right there. I was going to say that this creates a problem with sort of a wandering white space through the bulk of the text that is becomes quite prominent in justified, but in justified lines that are not, what's the word, with hyphenated. Hyphenated words at the end is professional. I don't know if I've enforced it within this design, so that's again up to you. But I'm saying this for your consideration. So justified is part of the change. No, that's original. That's inherited. Text flow, this is inherited. Font, again, Arial, regular, 12 point. This is inherited from the base paragraph style. And this is also another way of saying the SR character base font. No font effects in this paragraph, but this is where you would do them. Okay. Much position, normal, zero. This is a lot of technical settings that you don't really need to pay any attention to. Highlighting, you see I haven't done anything there. Tabs, drop caps, no drop caps. Area I don't worry about. There's nothing about transparency to worry about. There are certainly no borders around my paragraphs. Again, this might be useful in sidebars for nonfiction writing. Outline and numbering, well, nothing there. There's nothing unique. So going back to organizer, we're going to leave. I'm going to cancel out those changes. Thank you. So paragraph default. What is this paragraph first? Well, let's look through modify. We'll find that SR paragraph first is followed by SR paragraph default. And it, SR paragraph first, inherits from paragraph base. So both of these styles, first and default, inherit from base. And that means independently they can be adjusted and not conflict with each other because they are distinctly different styles. And what is this distinct difference? Well, let's go to indents and spacing. Right here, there is no indent. So the first paragraph following a header, basically a title bar, is not indented. And all paragraphs that follow are. So this is the reason for having first and default. Default, when we look at default, as we have earlier, will always be default, 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 default. This is first default, and then defaults forever after. I'll cancel out of that. Headings. Well, why headings? Let's look. The next SR section level heading 2. Well, first off, a heading is only going to be one line of text. It's going to have special treatment that allows the eye to see it as being distinctly separate from the body of text, and also suggesting of titles, entitling, and or revealing a hierarchical relationship. And having level 2 is already indicative of, well, there's a level 1 and there's a level 3 and a level 4. Well, what makes this, this inherits, well, okay, next style. Next style, SR paragraph first. So this is what I was speaking of, that there being a first paragraph that has no indent, and that only occurs under a heading. So when you finish the heading by just hitting the enter, it automatically opens a first paragraph. When you finish with that first paragraph, you hit the enter, it's into the default paragraph, and all paragraphs after that will be default. So this is the power of inheritance and of using this organizer. Again, custom style. And the SR section level 2 heading inherited from SR section level 1 heading. So we see this is in the naming. We also see the hierarchy. What else can I say about this? Well, certainly the font is of particular interest because it's Arial, bold italic, 12 point. What about its indents and spacing? Here it is distinctly indented as compared to the indent of the first or the default paragraphs. The default paragraphs having a far smaller indent than this paragraph style. And we're never going to see 3 lines in that paragraph because this is just a header. You can certainly go on forever with lengthy content in the heading, but that falls outside of typical usage. Also here, spacing above and below. So this spacing above the paragraph, in other words, the distance at this point, and the spacing below the paragraph, the distance at this point, this is different from standard paragraphs. My base paragraph, my first paragraphs, and my default paragraphs have no spacing above them. They do all have a spacing below 0.06 inches. And in that way, you get this paragraph having 0.06 inches below it, and this paragraph having 0.06 inches above it means that this separation is going to be wider than this separation because the separation of this paragraph, below paragraph, and the separation of the paragraph above paragraph are additive. And these two elements push apart. These two elements remain fixed at 0.06 there. This is 0.12. So this, again, this being a heading, distinguishes itself by pushing in extra space at the end of the last headed content. That's what I'm going to call this area down here, content, headed content, and this headed content, and this the header. Or heading. So stylistically, headings are visually set apart from content. Alignment, a left. Okay. We've already talked about flow. The font effects and all these other things, they've all been inherited and nothing's changed in their regard. You move by small steps, and that will reduce a lot of grief that might come later. And these small steps also allow you to tailor, fine-tune those points to match your artistic vision. So we're going to cancel out of this. And let's see, what else could I... Okay, there's a world of paragraphs here, as you see. As our paragraph, copyright notice, copyrights reservation, dedication, acknowledgement, and base. Beat description. This is, I don't know that I ever use it, but it's there. It relates to writing for film. And it's a distinct paragraph. Its style might reveal what my intent was. So in the organizer, it inherits from paragraph default, so it looks just like any ordinary content paragraph. Its next style is itself, so it's forever repeating until I force a change. Over here we can see it's got an indent. Has the same below spacing. Again, notice there's no spacing above, so it conforms to the default paragraph, and this is what it inherited. Alignment is justified. Text flow, font is the same. It's the same as it has inherited. There's no font effects. No position. Is there any highlighting? Yes, highlighting. So I put a highlight behind the words that are entered in this light blue. And that allows me to see this as a note to the writer. Okay, so that's what I was doing. The intent of beat description is this is a prompt to me as the writer, and its intention is to create content and then be erased. Because once that content is created, there's no point for this blue script in the text. So that gives us a glimpse of a special purpose paragraph description. SR paragraph side frame. This is even more remote from most usage. But as you can see here in the font, it is Arial Regular 10 points. So here I am asserting a stylistic visual change. The size of the font is going to be picked up quite readily by the eye, and it's going to be distinctively in what is called a side frame. So my naming conventions here are getting a little strained, because what do I mean by side frame? This is using a multi-column flow, and I'm going to cancel this out. And I'm going to look at pages to see if I've retained that. No. There was a time when I had versions of pages that were 2 and 3 column formats, which is very much in the realm of nonfiction and wholly outside of novel writing. So I split that off into another templates design. So section subtitle. Okay, like I said, 4 heading titles, and if you look, you can the styles are revealed at this level right here. We'll see. I don't even have to open the modify to see that this is in a bold italic font. 12 Arial bold italic, as is this, and as is this. So from level 1 to level 2 inherited from level 1, and then changed the font to italic. There's other variations in these, and that's probably, let's look at the last one. And I bet it's going to be in spacing. No, not, yeah, before text. 1 1/4 inches. That's a heavy indent, as you can see over here. So if I go up the scale from 4 to 3 to 2 to 1, this number is going to fall. And let's just confirm that. Let's go to this one, halfway between. Modify 0.75 inches. Okay, so I've moved 1/2 inch. So this area over here is moving 1/4 inches as we go deeper into the hierarchy. 1, 2, 3, 4, as such. Okay, there's any number of other. Then there's some very unusual pair closing, pair opening. I believe I mentioned that before. Text item, text item, text item, text item, text item, text item. These are paragraph styles that are heavy in the font change from our base font. And they are to create a certain effect. The SR item, text item console is presenting in a what would look like a computer display control window. So it's a very ordinary modular script and it's also bolded. Here's our text item default. This is I always have some sort of base item. Let's see if I do that here. No, I don't. But this is certainly the base of all others. Emphatic, okay, that is, you'll notice that the different fonts here achieve different spacings. That's taking the text item emphatic, text item italic, text item pair close. Okay, back to the closing opening. These two are styles that alternate as you end a paragraph and go to a new one. And actually, you start with an opening of the pair, and it will jump to the closing of the pair as you hit the enter. When you finish that entry and hit the enter, it'll pop back to this. And you can see right here, I don't have to open the modified to see that the difference between the two is italicized content. Same thing down here in SM. This SMS1, SMS2 is an attempt to portray texting in the book, and here, modify, we see that it has an indent, a heavy indent here, and I'm going to just whip over to this one, and we're going to see that it also has a heavy indent. The difference between these, they're all, that doesn't seem right, but let's see. This is going to be justified right, so that's why I have this hanging open over here, because it's writing, boom, empty. However, this, it's hanging over here. Now, the indent before the text, 2.4 inches over here. I'm going to leave that alone. And the indent before the text is 0.5 inches. So actually, this area here is underrepresented, because that was my difficulty in seeing that it doesn't appear on this screen. But SMS1, this is all shifted to the right. It's still justified this way. And SMS2 has an indent of 2.4 inches, which is vastly different from SMS1 by 2 inches. So this text is forced to the right. So I'm having a left, right kind of presentation on the page. And this is something that you would see on your phone. It's a standard representation for messaging. So I'm going to close out of this and look for any other oddities. Okay, SR title page title. In the organizer, the title page has a title. That's what this means. And when you finished with the title, the next paragraph is going to be the subtitle. As this is the very root of titling, there is no inheritance. And I'm going to go to font, because this is, again, Okay. This is where this is where you set for a larger size font. I was looking for something else, but that arrived. We actually don't use the SR title page title style because even though it's identical to heading 1, both look exactly alike. I'm using SR title page title as it completes the template design. I don't use it. I use heading level 1 for the conventions of conversion to ebook. So that's one little consideration you have to keep in regards that you'll notice that there is no chapter title, SR chapter title paragraph style for the same reason, because they're all heading level 1s too. So let's return to the studio. And I hope, like I said, this is under the hood kind of stuff. It teaches you how the connectivity of paragraphs and character styles are made, and how changing at one place can change in many places depending upon the linkages through the various styles. It's also an etude for you to create your own. You don't need to do any of that. It already flows into your work. All of this, with use, you'll become very adept at it. It flows easily. If you find any problems, you can see them. You can locate them by name. You can go make a change in that style. It flows through your entire book. You're there. It's that easy. Yeah, it truly is that easy. And this isn't hard. Well, it was hard for me. It took a long time to get all this stuff together and hammer through the documentation such as it was. And some of this is, it begs for more, but here you are. I saved you that trouble. Yeah, you'll get a kick out of this. This is, it'll take a while before you get back to your writing, but you'll find that going so much better. So, stay tuned.